The following program is a public access production. Comcast is required to provide time on this channel and make it available pursuant to franchise agreements with the communities we serve. Comcast is not affiliated with the following program or the producers of public access programming and is not responsible for the content. The following program does not reflect the opinions of Comcast or its affiliates.
Welcome to Chicago Theater Review, and welcome to a sweltering hot Chicago day. It's so hot that the studio air conditioners don't work, so you're going to have to excuse us if we're sweating a little too much. Gail had her appendix taken out, so she won't be doing the show, but I got a great critic from Chicago, Dan Zeff, who's been on our show before, and Dan has been doing theater critics for over 50 years in Chicago and also in Canada. So welcome to the show, Dan. What's the website that people can get you on?
Locally, it's chicagolandtheaterreviews.com and also stageandcinema.com out of Los Angeles.
Great. I'm glad you're able to come on our show with Gail getting sick and stuff. If you see that our studio looks a little empty, what we do is we have a very special surprise for you in the halfway part of the show. We have a group that's actually going to perform for you. So what we're going to do is let's get right to the shows that are playing here in Chicago. The first is a new show that just opened up last week. It's called Immediate Family. It's playing at the Goodman, but it's not a Goodman production. They're just renting their space. Dan's seen the show, so Dan, why don't you tell us about the show? Also, there's a special, the main director is a famous person, isn't she?
Felicia Rashad, who is the Claire Huxtable from the Cosby family, or the Cosby TV show, was Bill Cosby's wife, and she is directing. And what she's directing is a show that mixes sitcom with dysfunctional family, which is a pretty tried and true formula for getting a straight play on Broadway. It starts out like most dysfunctional family plays with people bickering and snapping at each other. You sense that there's underlying tensions. It escalates into some all-out verbal and, in this case, physical battles. There's an explosion of recriminations and revelations, and then it quiets down into a sense of reconciliation at the end, which makes it sound pretty heavy, but it's basically it's a comedy until towards the end. The play takes place in Hyde Park area in the south side of Chicago. 5 of the 6 characters are black. And a lot of the humor spins off of the particular black cadences of the dialogue, and the cast is very funny. They interact with each other very humorously. There's a lot of jibing, a lot of back chat until it turns serious. The pivotal point comes when one of the characters, a writer who has been away from his family for several years, brings his boyfriend in, and the family knows that the writer's been gay. They've suppressed the knowledge, but they've learned to live with it. What breaks things open is that the companion is white. He's from Sweden, so you have kind of a guess who's coming to dinner element that intrudes, which is funny, and then it triggers some very intense confrontations among the white companion and the writer and the writer's older sister, who is a fiery black power person, and also very conservative religiously.
So you like the show then?
I like the show because of the performances. I liked it because mostly it was very funny. It still needs tweaking, which I'm sure it's going to get.
Because it's going to New York.
They hope so.
Okay.
So it's still in I would say it doesn't need much, especially if they keep this cast. But it needs a better finish. It doesn't so much conclude as just stops, and there wasn't much chemistry between the white and the black gay duo, but basically the writer, who's a local writer and actor, has got it right as far as the humor, and he can write sharp, snappish dialogue. If from scene to scene it's the narrative doesn't quite hold up, you're not concerned about that at the time because there's so much good stuff to listen to.
Okay, so now that's Immediate Family, and that's playing until July, I believe, 19th, and that's playing at the Goodman. Now the next show we've both seen, and that is playing at Writers Theater in Glencoe in their library bookstore one.
Right.
And that's called The Blonde, the Brunette, and the Redhead.
The Vengeful Redhead.
I loved it for a one-person show, which is very difficult because either you can do a one-person show that's going to bore your audience to death, or you can do a one-person show that just keeps you for the entire 2 hours entwined into it. What did you think of it?
I liked it as a performance more than I liked it as a play. I have nothing but admiration for people who do one-person shows because they're on stage without a safety net. It's them against the world. And the actress who played all of the characters in the show is really good. And it's also very theatrical because she does all of her changes, her wigs, and her clothing right on stage. So you get kind of a behind-the-scenes theatrical quality along with the drama, which even though it seems artificial, really works. As soon as she changes characters, you're back into the show. To me, the play was more of a stunt. I don't think that the play would have been any worse off if you would have hired 7 people to do the 7 roles, except that it would have been more expensive. So I think as a showcase for a very versatile actress who has a lot of stamina, because it's about 2 hours. That's a long time for a one-person show. And some of the character transformations are really abrupt. So she's got to shift physical and emotional gears almost instantaneously.
Well, we do have a clip of this show. So I want to go to that clip. This shows all 7 characters that she's doing, and I like the way she does these character changes. So let's see a scene from that clip.
Little names, and it's Graham, and my life has changed irrevocably. You know, I must have walked past Donovan's discount jewelry. Never in my wildest dreams imagining any of the figure so prominently in my life. That's Ruth Blondor. Donovan's discount jewelry.
So that is The Blonde, the Brunette, and the Vengeful Redhead. That's playing at the Writers Theater. I recommend it highly. I really did like it. So let's go to one other show, and that is at Chopin's Theater by the Hypocrites. You haven't seen it yet.
No.
It's a new twist on Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare. This is a 80-minute production. No intermission. They go right to it, but it is put in modern times. very modern, that you're actually sitting in a tent that they built in their basement of their theater house. So it only holds 40 people for this show. If you have young people that want to learn about Shakespeare, it's a great way to learn it. Everybody's done Romeo and Juliet. I mean, even Shakespeare Theater did it last year. Everybody's got a new take, but they actually did a pretty good job putting it in modern times, still using a lot of the words of William Shakespeare. From that, I want to go to a show that now has changed casts. It's been playing for a while, and that's Freud's Last Session, and that is playing at the Mercury Theater. I liked it. Now, you saw the original.
I saw the original cast. I haven't seen Mike Nussbaum, and I certainly, he's going to be there, I guess, until September. And Nussbaum is a local treasure. They ought to build a statue to him right next to the Picasso downtown. And for somebody who is in his late 80s to take on a role which is pretty much his play for 2 hours, must be remarkable. It's about a imagined meeting between Sigmund Freud, who's dying, living in London, and the young C.S. Lewis, who did the Narnia books, right at the beginning of World War II. They never did meet, but this is what might have happened. The dialogue crackles. The Freud character is a delightful curmudgeonly type. Much of the conflict comes between Freud, who is an ostentatiously committed atheist, and Lewis, who is a very devout Christian, and they go back and forth. It's a very literate play. It's a very human play. I sometimes think that 2-character plays are more difficult to do than 1-character plays. But the original 2 people, actors who were the cast in New York, were excellent, and I'm sure that Nussbaum and Coben Goss, a good local actor.
I saw it with Nussbaum. I missed the first grouping, and I enjoyed it. I didn't know at the time that Freud was dying of throat cancer, and actually he died 2 weeks supposedly after the interview, after the start of World War II, and I didn't know that he committed suicide, basically.
Yeah, he'd been suffering from, I think it was cancer of the jaw. He'd been an inveterate cigar smoker, and he got a overdose of morphine from his, it was a very planned suicide. Yeah. And it was almost euthanasia on his part. And they refer to that obliquely in the play. But it's confined to the study, and there's not much physical action. They move around a little bit, but the dialogue between the two, especially the way the younger Lewis, who has to defend religion against Freud, and Freud seems to have all the lines. I mean, we live in a time where anybody who takes shots at organized religion seems to be the sympathetic character. But the Lewis character really holds his own. So it's an excellent dialogue between two very literate, very intelligent, very accessible, and 2 really meaty roles for 2 good actors.
We have a clip of the show, and this is more towards the ending of the show, so let's play that clip from Freud's Last Session.
The offense was mine.
I didn't say offense. I said I disappointed you. My idea of God, it constantly changes. He shatters it time and time again. Still, I feel the world is crowded with him. He is everywhere, incognito. And his incognito, it is so hard to penetrate. The real struggle is to keep trying, to come awake, then stay awake.
One of us is a fool. If you are right, you will be able to tell me. But if I am right, neither of us will ever know. Death is as unfair as life. Goodbye, Professor. We will meet again, perhaps.
God willing.
Okay, so that's Freud's Last Session. That's playing at the Mercury Theater. This is a highly recommended, and the Mercury must have a pretty good budget this year because they've been advertising on the newspaper and radio, television, so it's a pretty good show. We have time before our special guests come on for one more show that I'm going to talk about, and that's playing at the Circle Theater. I know we both saw it. I'd like to see what you think of it. It's called Almost an Evening, and it's a trio of comedies by Ethan Coen. This was a show that shocked me that Circle Theater would even do. Almost an Evening turned out to be a show that I said I could almost deal with not even doing it. It was like an evening that didn't exist. What did you think of this?
Well, they staged the three shows in a small studio theater, so it was properly intimate. I just didn't think there was much substance there. But the shows got rave reviews in New York, and you wonder when it's widely accepted in one place and seems dead in the water in another, what went wrong?
Is New York people more...
Maybe there are a lot of Ethan Coen fans there, because the acting seemed sufficient. I didn't see anything in the staging that would have torpedoed the show. Mm-hmm. It was just that the material was so thin that until the third one, when the play got overstuffed with material, that it's an interesting trio for a little small black box theater, and there was no harm in doing it. Mm-hmm. All the performances were good, or in the case of Ian Custer, really good, but it just evaporated. There was just nothing, especially the first two, mm-hmm. were so gossamer in substance that there was a pull after the second intermission to just keep going out the door and climbing into the car and catching the 10 o'clock
Good thing they were serving food, because I would have left after the second one, and I stayed for the third, which I was... First of all, Circle does some great work, and then to put this show on was totally against the grain of, I thought, what Circle's known for. So,
well, good for them for stretching a little bit, and the show did come with a New York pedigree, okay. But it just didn't carry its weight. I wouldn't tell anybody not to see it, but if you want to go, maybe go about an hour into the evening, you just catch the third one, because that's where all the action is.
And don't take kids to this one, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is pretty hard R, especially in the third one.
This is definitely a hard R type show. Yeah. But that is called Almost an Evening, and it's playing at Circle Theater, which is located in Oak Park. Now it's time to get to the really heart of our show today. I went to a new theater company called Filament Theater Company, and they are doing a wonderful show called Hank Williams' Lost Highway. Most of us don't know Hank Williams. You probably heard his songs.
I grew up in New Mexico, and you heard Hank Williams all the time. Okay. Well, if you had a radio, you were hearing Hank Williams.
He was dead before I was born, but I have heard his music before. So I wanted to see the show. I first saw $1 Million Quartet when it first opened up. Really loved that show, and that show took off, ended up going to New York and winning the Tony. And we've had a lot of musicals come along the line, and some of them have been pretty good. This one I see as another $1 Million Quartet. It has a group of 5 singers and musicians who are excellent. After listening to them, I actually think they've been playing for years, but then I find out, nope, they just put this group together, just like they did with $1 Million Quartet. So instead of doing a B-roll or a tape of this show, Gail got it so that the entire quartet was coming on to our show, and they're actually going to perform 2 of their songs. The lead person that plays Hank Williams is a wonderful actor called Peter Olo, and I'm messing this up and he's going to slug me later. And he's going to talk to us about the show. But I'm going to have them first do 2 songs from the show. So let's take it with Hank Williams and The Lost Highway.
All right, boys, let's start off with the Honky Tonk Blues. Well, I left my home down the rural route. Told my pa I'm going stepping now to get the honky tonk blues. Yeah, them honky tonk blues. Saying, Lord, I got them. I got the honky tonk blues. Well, I went to a dance and I wore around my shoes. Woke up this morning wishing I could lose them jumping honky tonk blues. Yeah, them honky tonk blues. Saying, Lord, I got them. I got the honky tonk blues. All right, let's hear it for it. In town, city life has really got me down. I got the honky tonk blues. Yeah, them honky tonk blues. Saying, Lord, I got them. I got the honky tonk blues. All right, loudmouth, earn your money, boys. I'm gonna tuck my worries underneath my arm. Just get right back to my pappy's farm and get the honky tonk blues. Yeah, them honky tonk blues. Saying, Lord, I got them. I got the honky tonk blues. All right, now we're going to do a song that's put a lot of beans and biscuits on the plate. Come on, Leon, take us down to old Louisiana. Goodbye, Joe, we got to go, me on my own. We got to go pull the kilo down the bayou. My ear corn, sweetest one, me on my own. Son of a gun, we're going to have big fun on the bayou. Oh, jambalaya, crawfish pie, and a skilly gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama Shed's a meal. The guitar, filled with jar and big ale. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Tippy-toes, the bumpy nose, the place is buzzing. Can come see you gone by the dozen. Dressing style, go hog wild, you and mine. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Oh, jambalaya, and a crawfish pie, and a silly gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama Shed's a meal. The guitar, filled with jar and big ale. Son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. All right, rip it out, boys. All right. All right, let's take it on. Get jambalaya and a crawfish pie and a silly gumbo. 'Cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama Shed's a meal. It gets
This is a great show. I mean, if you don't start clapping and singing, and it's just a wonderful show. It's 2.5 hours, and it's excellent. I want to bring on stage basically Peter and Sam Quinn, who is in the show. There's actually a fifth person, but they didn't bring him today. They must have wanted to hide him. But the guys, this is an excellent show. How did you come up with the idea?
Well, we at Filament, we've always loved this genre of music, folk music, and every year we try to do at least one show that's really heavy in music. And you know, we came across a script and we just fell in love with it. And
you know, one thing I realized after watching the show is it seems actors killing themselves, getting drunk, working with drugs and alcohol is nothing new. It's been going. I didn't know that Hank Williams had such a troubled life.
Yeah,
And
this is sort of the start of that genre of story in a lot of ways. I mean, he was the tragic story arc, self-destructive arc. But his is a little bit different in that, you know, he spent most of his young life in chronic pain. It's thought that he had spina bifida, which wasn't really something that they were diagnosing at the time. But you know, towards the end of his short life, he did have spinal surgery, and you can imagine what spinal surgery at that time would have been like.
in the 50s, it was in
And
the
so, you know, he spent a lot of his time riding in a car, so sitting down a lot in uncomfortable, cramped situations. So it was always aggravating to him, and his way of dealing with it was, you know, pain medications. And it's sort of similar to Elvis. He kind of had a doctor who was a little too liberal with some of his diagnoses.
Well, back then, medicine hit a lot because even they didn't even say that he died from drugs or alcohol. They basically said he had a heart attack.
Yeah.
And most people wonder how many 29-year-olds have heart attacks.
Right.
But it's an excellent show. The staging was great. I mean, you worked at a small theater. It only
Yeah.
holds, what, about 100 people? 75?
It's about 89. Yeah.
And just the sets worked perfect. How did you put this group together?
It was sort of divine reckoning. We kind of got out the stick and looking around. But we did do some auditions, put out some audition notices, and so we found some people that way. But mostly it was recommendations. People we heard through other people. You know, the last person that we got was the lap steel player who couldn't be here today, but you know, he was referred to us by Jesse Wolfel, our fantastic bass player.
Now, Jesse was also, weren't you in $1 Million Quartet?
I was an understudy.
You were the okay. So you guys come off wide range, you know, with musical talent and stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a musical pedigree in the group. Sam is a songwriter. I'm also a songwriter. Jesse and Tim, the lap steel player, they play in a band together. And Eric Labanauskas, our fiddle player, he's played violin, classical violin, predominantly for, you know, many years. So.
What's the goal for this show?
Well, we like to keep it going, you know, as long as possible. You know, we have a set run at the Athenaeum, but we'd love to see the show continuing on. And
now you're also with Filament,
yeah,
the theater company. Now they're moving to a new theater in the fall, right?
Yeah, we just signed. We just signed a lease on our own space in the Portage Park neighborhood at 4041 North Milwaukee. So we'll be taking over the lease on that space in August.
Okay. The show runs what? 3 days a week?
We run Thursday through Saturday at 7:30 and then Sunday at 3 p.m.
Okay.
At that third floor Athenaeum
Till July
studio.
8th.
Yeah, July 8th.
Mm-hmm. Till July 8th. I have a feeling this is going to get extended. I mean,
I hope so.
Once people start coming. This is an excellent show. You guys do an excellent job. I know you've got one more song that you're going to play, which we don't have time for. I will do it in the editing studios. I'll put it in for the credits. What
It'll just be for you.
It'll just be for me. Basically from Chicago Theater Review, I've got Peter saying goodbye. I got Dan, and we will see you next week.